Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin'?
What's up?
You need like one of those podcast arms.
What are you talking about?
Gotta lean forward to like use my microphone, so I'm just placing it on my pre-dad bod.
Just lean back.
Just lean back like this. We got some new chairs. Can't see them, but
They're quite comfy.
My chair before this did not have a back, and now I'm like, I got a back now. Welcome to Fantasy Champions.
This is us leaning back.
My name's Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up? What's up, bro?
Oh, nothing much. Today we're going to talk about the most consistent wide receivers.
Yep.
From the 2020 fantasy football season. And we'll give you last episode we gave you a little insight of what we think is going to happen with some of these guys moving forward. I don't know that there's going to be any major changes for some of these fellas that we currently have, but we'll discuss what we think moving forward. I feel like we talked about, we hated on two running backs.
Who do we hate on?
Alvin Kamara.
Oh, yes.
Alvin Kamara.
Short-term memory loss. Did I already forgot?
Yeah, it's whatever. So
you gotta just watch the episode.
Yeah, I was gonna skip all of the intro stuff, but let's do it real fast. Check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FFChamps on Instagram. On Twitter at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Like us, facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or YouTube, or any other podcasting platforms, what are they gonna do, Rick?
Subscribe.
Oh yes, dude. And then leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click that bell for notification because subscribing is not enough. Like if you subscribe, you might get recommendations in your YouTube recommendations area that you should be watching us, But if you click the bell, you'll literally get a notification that says, "You moron! They posted a podcast. You should listen to it."
Is that how it works? It just pops up, says "You moron."
That's what mine does. I subscribe to several people, and it's just every time.
I think there's something wrong with you.
Comment. Slice through the YouTube algorithm and comment. Gets us to the top of the searches.
Yes, sir.
Top of the recommendations pages. All that good stuff. So let's jump right into our most consistent wide receivers. And we went way too long on the last show, so we're gonna try to trim this one down.
Yeah, we did.
Usually the first show, we record these things back to back. So usually the first show we're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
We're just doing the normal, and then by the time we get to the second episode, we're out of things to talk about to each other. So there's nothing to talk about during the show anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it goes.
So then the second episode's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to keep it relatively brief on this
just
podcast.
Quickly talk about the guys.
Yeah, and not spend 2 hours on them. We have 5 guys to talk about, 6 possibly if we have time. And then we'll jump into closing the show. So you ready to do the most consistent wide receivers?
Let's do it.
As a prerequisite, once again, minimum of 12 games played to make the list. So if you're like, where is Will Fuller? Well, didn't make the list. Only played 11 games. So let's jump in. Number 1 on the list. Now, I thought Tyree Kill finished high, just based on looking at numbers, not just looking at total season numbers.
Yep.
Season totals, like the biggest total fantasy points on the whole season. And you look at Tyree Kill and you go, 56 of those points were because of one game, or 52. Was it 52?
It was 51.
51. So most of his fantasy points, you take those away in half PPR, and you give him like a normal average game, let's just say 15.
I think 40 of it was in the first quarter too. He literally had 40 points in a quarter.
Let's just give him 15, and you take 35 away from the total that he has right now.
Yeah.
He ends 255, which is still the wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
So he had a very, very good season, and Tyree Kill is number 1 on this list. He finished with 80%. So just to give you a last show we talked about bust percentage. A bust percentage is 8 points or less. I'm saying RB. Wide receiver 2 performances were around 8 to 14 fantasy points, and then great games or wide receiver 1 games were 14 points. I really only want to talk about running backs. That's why I keep saying RB. But anyway, so those are the prerequisites of what we're going to talk about on the show. So he had an RB1, wide receiver 1, and wide receiver 2 performances. He finished 87% of the time as one of those, and then he busted twice. So Tyree Kill was absolutely insane. What 2 games did he bust?
He had one game where he had 4 points against Buffalo. We had just 3 catches. And then was it the last game of the season against Atlanta? I don't know.
No idea. 8 points or less.
He had 8. According to this, he had 8.5, and this is half PPR. So he only had 1 on this.
Oh, just give him the 8.5.
So I guess we'll include the 8.5 against Atlanta, which is the last game that he played. Yeah. Unless they include the Chargers game, but I don't think he played in that one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so 2 bust games for a wide receiver. Generally speaking, like every single guy on this list is going to have 2 or more busts. Usually wide receivers work like that, depending on game scripts and different things like that. So Tyree Kill was the most consistent. He had 87% of that time.
Which is so funny because like 2 or 3 years ago, he was known as, and we talked about this on the other show, he was known as the opposite of that.
Inconsistent.
And now he's turned into one of the most consistent.
When we first did consistency shows,
he was awful.
He was I think it was like 40% of the time he was a wide receiver 1. It was just not good. And he has changed that now, and I think that's mostly due to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, probably.
The Mahomes effect, and him getting more target share. Because he was a guy that would get like 6 targets a game, but the games where he caught his 5-6 targets, those were the games he just went ham.
You take out that 51-point game, I mean, he's got 13, solid, 19, 18, 14, 16, solid, 4, that's his bust game. But then right back at it, 14, 23, 28, 21, 51, 11, 24, 14, and then the 8.5. That's really solid. Really solid. Even ignoring the 50-plus point game.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think for Tyree Kill too, he is kind of he's not underrated in terms of like where he gets drafted, but I think this year he's going to be the wide receiver 1, I believe. Let me just pull up the ADP that I had previously.
Not Devonte Adams?
No, Adams is going to be 1. Tyree Kill is number 2, and he's going as the 9th player off the board. So it's not unsurprising. I'm noticing that this year kind of signaled a shift. Because in the past we've had Michael Thomas, Devonte Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, and a lot of those guys end up being like the top 4. They were always the top 4, and there was like the reason why people were like draft wide receivers early is because all of those guys ended up in the top 4 literally every year unless they got hurt. This past year, you're starting to see a little bit more of a shift. Devonte Adams finished as a wide receiver 1, but Tyree Kill is now coming into his own as a guy who can definitely be the wide receiver 1 if things go well for him on a season. You're seeing Calvin Ridley jump up there. Justin Jefferson's going to be up there. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, like those guys are going to start taking over as the top wide receivers in the league. But so you see Tyree Kill here, going at the 9th pick. It doesn't surprise me. Are you moving forward happy with that as a pick if you choose to take a wide receiver in the first round?
I'm okay with that if I'm taking a running back right behind him, like 109, and then you take a running back with your second top of the second round, sort of thing. But I'm still not trying to take a receiver too high.
Yeah, I agree. And redraft.
Yes, yeah.
So for Tyree Kill too, I think moving forward, obviously nothing changes for him. Unless, nothing's changing in Kansas City. No one's leaving.
No, it's not. They might add a receiver. So you could
might
make the argument that might hurt, but it's still Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like that's going to hurt McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins, like the secondary guys.
I think you saw too, like when Watkins was in there, he got like I don't know, 10 targets.
He was getting
8
close,
to 10 targets. So if they do add somebody, and then you still saw Hill was getting his 8-9 targets a game. So it doesn't really. I don't think them signing a wide receiver is going to affect his value that much. And even in the games where he only gets like 4 catches, there's still a chance that he like catches 4 passes in like 100 yards. So that's very realistic with Tyree Kill. He has one of the highest yards per reception rates in the NFL. So. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver. When you see how many great performances he had, wide receiver 1 or better 8 times, which is 53% of the time, that's good. Very consistent. He wasn't the most consistent in that category. The guy that was most consistent in that category was Devonte Adams with 57% of the time, and that is a good segue into the he's 4th, so never mind. We'll talk about him later. So number 2 on this list is Stefan Diggs. He had 13, same number as Tyree Kill when it comes to wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 games. He had 13 of those, but it was only 81% of the time because he played in all 16. He did have 3 bust games where he scored 8 or less points, which was 19% of the time. So there is a percentage of a chance that he does bust. But this is one of the biggest, most surprising wide receivers to finish in the top 5 this year because everyone, top 3, I'll say top 3 because he was there. Everyone anticipated that Stefan Diggs was going to take a step back, except for me. And you literally talked me out of it. But Stefan Diggs, man, he was really, really good. And so I think moving forward, obviously, I don't know about the Bills. I haven't decided.
Oh no,
I think the Bills are good. I just don't know if Stefan Diggs is going to continue being a wide receiver 3.
I don't know about wide receiver 3, but I love Diggs. I've done a complete 180 on him, and it's partly because of his relationship with Josh Allen.
As the 16th player of the board. Okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I'll gladly take him there. His relationship with Josh Allen and the amount of times Josh Allen would like force the ball to him too, or not even force the ball, but make sure he got the ball. It's a great sign from owning the receiver from that like standpoint.
Yeah,
because he's still going to get his targets no matter what. Mm-hmm. Diggs was really phenomenal all year, very consistent, and he was great in the playoffs too. If you want to include the playoffs, so. Yeah, Diggs, huge surprise. I was big time rolling on Stefan Diggs, and I love him going forward, especially in redraft.
Yeah. What he did this year was very surprising, and I think it was the connection between Josh Allen. We talked about how Josh Allen needed those weapons, and he finally got them. So, he got one. He still needs a running back, but yeah. Stefan Diggs really came into his own, and I didn't think he was a guy that could finish as a top 5 wide receiver, but he did it. I hope he continues doing it because I like him almost, I ended up, it's funny. I literally had Stefan Diggs in our home league like 5 years running. Something stupid like that. How long has he been in the league? 6 years?
Yeah.
I had him like
literally
every single year.
In Minnesota.
And
I had him Minnesota, 1 year, I think.
And so I was like, I drafted him every year, and I was like, why do I keep doing this?
And then the 1 year you don't, wide receiver 3.
It was to the point where I didn't even want to draft him, but they were just leaving him there for me to draft.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's the 5th round? Okay, I'll take Stefan Diggs now, I guess. And I did it like every year. And then this year, I'm like, I'm not doing it again. I love Stefan Diggs, but I'm just not doing it.
Especially in Buffalo.
It's the wrong time to do that. Yeah. So, and then I'll draft him next year, and I'll go back to being a wide receiver too. So there's that. But he was one of the most consistent wide receivers. It remains to be seen for me if he continues that in 2021. I want to talk about that moving forward and explore what his future looks like with Buffalo.
Okay.
I still don't trust the Buffalo Bills. They made the playoffs 2 years in a row, and I still remember last year I was like, no way.
It's the Patriots fan in you, dude.
It really is. But Buffalo is just like, and Josh Allen too. Like they're just such a bunch of floundering idiots sometimes, and I feel like Buffalo is just gonna have like 2 years of being really good, and then they're just gonna fall to pieces. I don't know.
I hope you're right. I don't think you're right though.
Yeah, but I don't know about Stefan Diggs. I think I would have to say that he's gonna be a top 10 wide receiver next year, like easy.
Oh yeah.
Number 3?
Yep, number 3.
Calvin Ridley. Interesting.
This was one we were both right on. I pushed the Ridley narrative hard. I got hate on it for Twitter. I was all about Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley's my guy.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, we pushed Calvin Ridley basically all off season. He had 12 wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 performances, 5 wide receiver 1, 7 wide receiver 2 performances. So He was very, very good over the course of the whole season. Very consistent, and got you what you needed on a week-to-week basis. I had him all year, and he was one of the guys that I just kind of set in my lineup and didn't think about. And when you're, especially with the strategy that we used last year, when you're drafting 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, you kind of need to get into that 3rd round and find a gem, in the rough of the 3rd and 4th round at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And Calvin Ridley was just that. He did bust 3 times like Stefan Diggs, which is 20%, 19 to 20% of the time. But he finished as the wide receiver 4 on the season. He was the wide receiver 2 or 3 for majority of the season until Tyree Kill's 56-point game, 52-point game. So yeah, he's consistent. Moving forward, I don't know.
Yeah, my thing with Ridley, I think he's going to be good no matter what, but how good? Because Matt Ryan threw the ball to him a lot.
That's not going to change. I'm worried that they change quarterbacks.
Well, that's where I was going with. Because I don't think they're going to change this year, even if they draft somebody at 4.
Yeah.
But in 2022,
right,
they'll probably have a new quarterback. And how good is that quarterback? How is it going to work with Calvin Ridley? There's a lot of questions. I mean, maybe it's even better. Maybe it's an upgrade over old man Matt Ryan. So
did they change offensive coordinators, or it's still Dirk Cutter?
I do not know. I'll have to look it up.
Because that makes it. Why am I yawning so much? That makes a big difference. Because he likes to pass it like 800 times.
New offense coordinator.
Okay. I don't know anything about him.
I'll look it up.
Who's their head coach? They fired. What's his name? Did they keep the defensive coordinator?
Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. Head coach.
Yes,
Arthur Smith.
They fired their
he was the guy from Tennessee.
Oh, he's the offensive coordinator from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I would hope Calvin Ridley's good, but they like to throw it a lot, and Julio's still there. If they're an offense that does decrease the amount of times they pass the football, that's going to affect the target share of Calvin Ridley more than I think it's going to affect Julio Jones.
He spent the last 5 seasons with the Bears. So that's something to note.
I don't know about Calvin Ridley yet.
I mean, that's probably a good thing for Allen Robinson.
I thought we were just going to be like, all these guys are going to be great next year, and now they're diving deep into this, finding out that coaches. Why do coaches ruin our hopes and dreams?
Well, it's important to look at.
Who knows? But if Calvin Ridley, I believe Arthur Smith's an offensive coordinator, right? He was with Tennessee.
Yes.
So he's going to have more impact on that offense than anything else.
Yes, probably.
So, I mean, I'm not super concerned. What concerns me is that, like in Tennessee this past season, he was in Tennessee, right? You looked at me weird.
Yes. No, you're right. Sorry. Because I got confused myself.
You looked at me like, what?
I thought you said someone else.
No, so with Arthur Smith.
We're in the back end of this podcast, aren't we?
I guess so.
The second half.
With Arthur Smith being the offensive coordinator of Tennessee last year, they had A.J. Brown, who was really successful.
Yes.
And I would love to say that Calvin Ridley is going to do that. Issues and problems with that scenario is that unless something happens with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley might not get the target share he got last year if they don't pass it 600 times, because that's a Dirk Cutter offensive thing. He loves doing that. He loves throwing it 650 times in a season and hoping for the best. And when you do that, Calvin Ridley gets 125, 150, between 125 and 150 targets, and it looks good. So I think Calvin Ridley can continue to be good, but Julio Jones being there is, for me, in a new offense, concerning.
Yeah. It is. It definitely is. But with Julio gone too, there's just a lot of questions going forward with Calvin Ridley. That's all.
I still like him in redraft.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still like him there.
Okay. Fair enough. Number 5.
Number 4.
Okay.
Devonte Adams.
Number 4, Devonte Adams. 70% of the time he was a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. 8 times finished as a wide receiver 1. 3 times finished as a wide receiver 2. And then 3 times he was just a complete and utter bust, like Calvin Ridley and like Stefan Diggs. So for me, Devonte Adams finishes the wide receiver 1. When he is the wide receiver 1 on a week, or a wide receiver 1 on a week, it's usually top 5.
Yeah, I mean he had a stretch where he had 38, 26, 28, 3 straight weeks, and then 14. Bad week for him. Then went back up to 26, then 15, then 29. Like, he would have so many weeks with 26 plus fantasy points. It was ridiculous.
Like, these are his weeks in PPR.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I like how they added primary cover corner on there. So the guy that guarded him most of the time.
Oh yeah. They've had that for a little while. That's
really?
why I like going
no
into game logs on Player Profiler. If you go to playerprofiler.com, you search a player's name and go to game logs. For wide receiver, it tells you who the primary corner he faced was. But on these weeks where he finished as a wide receiver 1, he had the number 1 finish week 1 with 41 PPR fantasy points. He was the wide receiver 2 overall in week 7 after he came back from his injury. He had 44. He was the wide receiver 2 again the following week in week 8. Wide receiver 2 again in week 9. And then the other wide receiver 1 performances he was the wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 6, and then the wide receiver 1 overall.
Poor Malcolm
in
Butler.
respective weeks. Burned.
He got torched.
So I think the big thing with Devonte Adams is that when he does finish as a wide receiver 1, which was 8 times last year, he finished not in the top 3 one time, which was top 6, which is still fantastic. So he did not he did like, I was gonna say not, but there was not a situation where if he was a wide receiver 1 in those 8 games that he didn't finish as a top 6 wide receiver on the week. So
dude is ridiculous.
He's ridiculous. I mean, and the big thing for Green Bay, we'll see as the offseason goes along, but Matt LaFleur will probably draft 3 more running backs and maybe 2 more quarterbacks just for the sake of posterity, and not draft a wide receiver. And I'm totally on board with it.
Yeah,
poor Aaron Rodgers, but like, I'll take it. Now it's just as likely that Russell Wilson changes teams as it is Aaron Rodgers changes teams. It's the NFL, anything can happen, but more than likely that Aaron Rodgers stays. So Devonte Adams, to me, this is an easy one. We don't need to spend an hour on it. He's gonna be a top 5 wide receiver next year, and right now he's going as the wide receiver 1. I don't like it, only because every time
wide receiver
I don't.
ones,
you know what? I'm just gonna refuse to draft the wide receiver 1 overall.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out.
Because here's the problem is, like, they always never finish as the wide receiver 1 the following
I know
year.
they really don't. It is kind of concerning. Do you have any concerns with Adams long term, like Ridley, because of Aaron Rodgers' situation? Like, if Jordan Love becomes the quarterback in Green Bay, like, are you?
I think that Devonte Adams is 28 years old.
28, yeah.
And
the wide receiver, I mean, that's like not crazy old.
It's not, but he's kind of hitting the back end of his fantasy value.
Yeah.
So, like, I think his fantasy value is going to go as long as Aaron Rodgers does at this point, to me. Like, when Rodgers is done, Adams will be phased out. It's all about target share for him, really. Like, he's not.
No, it's true.
He's not like. Let me ask you this: who's the best wide receiver in the NFL?
Maybe DeAndre Hopkins, but
yeah, I would say DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah,
Devonte Adams is the best wide receiver in fantasy because he's the most targeted wide receiver.
Yeah, he's still a very good. Like, his route running is very good.
If they add another wide receiver and Rodgers starts going in other directions, Rodgers is always Jordy Nelson. There was one other guy when he first started his career. I can't remember what it is.
Greg Jennings.
Greg Jennings. He's always had a guy that he just threw the ball to 190 times. You know,
that's true. Yeah,
so,
he always has like a go-to guy.
As long as Rodgers is there and Adams is there, Adams, if he doesn't get hurt, is going to get 170.
If Love ends up being
targets.
a good quarterback, though, and let's say Adams is like 30 years old,
I think that's.
I mean, he'll still
30
be
years
decent.
old is generally like he still can be good, but it's usually the line.
Yeah, no. I mean, see how like Julio is like 32, but he's kind of a unicorn too.
The last 2 years he hasn't finished,
and he hasn't.
So I think Adams has got like a couple years left of this run.
No, last year he did. He was wide receiver 3.
Oh, okay. Because he gets targeted out the wazoo.
He just got injured this year.
Yeah. So I mean, he's still got time left, but I think like I said, the time for Devonte Adams is as long as Aaron Rodgers runs.
Yep.
And he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to play at least 45.
Yeah, no,
Just
I
wanna
agree with
throw
that.
out there. So I like I said, the other thing too is that I'm not going to be drafting Devonte Adams as the first wide receiver off the board just because I don't know. I probably rank him 1, but I'm going to rank the guy who I think might finish as the wide receiver 1 overall this year 1. That's what I'm going to do this year.
Which is early, very early.
I'm going to say Tyree Kill.
Okay,
I'm going to go with him. Yeah, it's very safe, but I'll do that.
It's fair.
Either that or my guy, AJ Brown, but I'm not going to do that. I won't do that, I promise. So anyway, yeah, Adams. I probably won't, but he's a fine wide receiver to draft. Like he's not somebody you're looking at going, oh my god, he's not going to end up as the wide receiver 1, but he's the wide receiver 2 overall.
Yeah,
like it's not a problem, and he's a safe to me. Like we see Tyree Kill with 87% of the time as a wide receiver 1 or 2, Diggs 81%, Calvin Ridley 80%, and like Devonte Adams 79%. So he's like 8 percentage points off Tyree Kill. Yeah. But like to me, I would almost rather have the consistency of Devonte Adams overall because I know the target shares are going to be there. I know I can close my eyes and worry about him not. You know what I mean? I can close my eyes and not worry about him like completely crapping himself and not having a good week.
Right. Yeah.
So and I guess you could say the same thing about Hill, but
well, speaking of your guy, who's number 5?
I forgot we were talking about him, and I'm very happy that we are. AJ Brown. And we're not going to... The honorable mention was Will Fuller. Yep. And if me and America talk about Will Fuller, we're going to argue about him for an hour. So we're going to leave him off the list. But he was an honorable mention 82% of the time with 9 points or more in half PPR. Which would have made him second, yes. So I think he would be, just a quick note, I think he would be fantastic if he goes back to Houston and Deshaun Watson ends up there. And he's
which is not going to happen.
That those variables are going to hold on. And like if he played the whole season on this, he might have finished.
He was the wide receiver, 5 or 6 when he got suspended?
Yeah.
So he probably would have been like a top 6 wide receiver. He probably would
have been a top 6 wide receiver. He was playing very well. So anyway, final guy, AJ Brown, my guy, 71% of the time, 10 games with wide receiver 1 finish or better. He did bust 4 times. He had 7 wide receiver 1 finishes, 3 wide receiver 2 finishes. 4 times as a bust. That hurts my soul a little bit. But that's the Titans.
Yeah.
Literally AJ Brown busted 4 times. And
because there'll be games where they just don't throw.
Ryan, if we get to the quarterbacks and Tannehill busted 4 times, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, he literally
hold on. I'm going to tell you if Tannehill busted. Tannehill busted 4 times.
Yep.
What is with that whole offense and just crapping
There'll be games where he just
he goes off.
Yeah, then there'll be games where he gets 4 targets, 1 catch.
Yeah.
He wasn't even injured.
The funny part is that he is the 5th most consistent wide receiver in the league. And if you want to throw Will Fuller in there, you could say 6.
Yeah. And he was playing injured for a big chunk of that year.
Surgery on both knees.
Yeah.
That hurts my soul a little bit.
But next year he could be insane. He might be the wide receiver 1 next year.
Is this 3rd
I'm not
season?
even gonna lie. Yeah.
Oh, see, I said that and you looked at me funny 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, now I'm coming around.
He's coming around. I love AJ Brown. I'm not going to lie. And right now, AJ Brown, but people are taking Metcalf over AJ Brown.
I wouldn't do it. I would not do that.
AJ Brown is going 306. I let me have it because I will take it all day.
Yeah, I'll take that too.
AJ Brown, I'm not going to lie. I like DK Metcalf. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. He's very good, but AJ Brown is a better wide receiver than him.
I 100% agree that AJ Brown is a better wide receiver than DK Metcalf.
You can call me a joke. You can make fun of me all you want. Roast me in the comments. I really don't give a crap. AJ Brown is a better wide receiver than DK Metcalf.
If Metcalf just had better hands, then maybe. Yeah, he drops way too many passes.
They're so funny. I remember sending somebody in our league had it, and I literally sent him a GIF mid-game when Metcalf had that ball money throw by Russell Wilson.
Hit him in the helmet or whatever.
Right in the face mask. So I died laughing. I was like,
he's still a great receiver. But
yeah, he's a much better route runner than I thought, but he's got pieces to his game that he needs to improve on, and I think he's a part of the Seattle offense, which is scary a little bit.
Yeah,
they're not a bad offense. It's just 1 week Metcalf could get 10
targets.
They were
fantastic. They were the best offense in the league through half the season, and then all of a sudden they were one of the worst.
But Metcalf could get 10 targets one game and then 3 targets.
Which you can say the same thing about AJ Brown. I mean,
that is true. That is very true.
But if Corey Davis leaves, is that good or bad for AJ Brown?
Fantastic. Corey Davis needed AJ Brown to have success,
but AJ Brown didn't.
And AJ Brown didn't need Corey Davis to have success.
I still think he needs someone there, though, so he doesn't
They'll
get like
probably
triple
add
team.
somebody else because there's literally no one else on the team. But AJ Brown, yeah, 7 games, right near where Devonte Adams was. 7 games with a wide receiver 1 finish or better, or there is no better than that. But he's finished 7 times as wide receiver 1, which is 50% of his games. So I think for me moving forward, he isn't the most, because after you get past like Keenan Allen and AJ Brown, Devonte Adams, Calvin Ridley, Stefan Diggs, Will Fuller, and Tyree Kill from last season, it really kind of just hovers. The next like 10 guys are all around 60 to 69%.
Yep.
And I think you can even, is it fair to lump AJ Brown? Like if you were making tiers here, it would be tier 1, which is Tyree Kill, maybe Stefan Diggs, Calvin Ridley, and Devonte Adams would be tier 1. Mm-hmm. And then you have the next tier, and then that next tier is like AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Metcalf, Jones, Godwin, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it just drops. It shows you, if you were seeing this sheet like in front of you on YouTube, you would see the reason why wide receiver middle round drafting is the way to go.
Right.
Because
so many guys.
There's so many guys there. There are literally 24. There's probably 24 players that finished with a 60% or greater wide receiver 1 or 2 percentage, which is great for the league. But anyway, and some of them are like Justin Jefferson, who wasn't good until like...
Yeah, I mean, like I think out of like the 6 games Justin Jefferson busted in, I'm pretty sure like 3 of them were in the first 3 games of his career.
I know. It just is... What was... I'm curious because I love Justin Jefferson. Wide receiver 5 through weeks 4 through 17. Maybe week 3 did he bust? Wide receiver 4 from weeks 3 to 17. He was ridiculous, honestly. Yeah, but he was. I think it's just the list is like very, very, very good in terms of wide receivers, and there's so many great guys out there. But AJ Brown, I think, has the makings too. Like Calvin Ridley, we talk about, because Tannehill, he's not going to be there forever either. Like all these guys kind of have quarterbacks that are in question besides Tyree Kill.
Definitely, yeah.
But like AJ Brown probably has Tannehill for at least like 4 to 5 more years if he continues playing good. Adams probably has like Rodgers for 2 or 3 more years. Ridley's probably got maybe, if we're lucky, 2 more years of Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
And when I say lucky, I don't mean like to watch Matt Ryan because he blows, but lucky in terms of they'll have a quarterback to throw him the football.
Right.
So for me, it's like when you look at like Calvin Ridley or Devonte Adams, you kind of have that question of like who's going to be there and who's going to be the guy to throw him the football in like 3 years. Whereas AJ Brown, you could still have a good quarterback in Ryan Tannehill throwing him the football. But he also might be roped into those guys where Tyree Kill and Stefan Diggs, they got quarterbacks for quite a long time here.
Yeah.
For the rest of their career if they stay with their respective teams. So, I love AJ Brown though. I think he has the ability to be the wide receiver 1 next year or the year following. Mm-hmm. If those bum knees that he just got surgery on.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, if he played as well as he did this year.
A little bit.
But if he played as well as he did.
You think that's why he's 306? Right now?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that could be it.
Yeah. Like I said, Will Fuller, honorable mention.
Beast.
Anyone else you wanted to honorably mention?
Not really. Well, actually, I thought it was interesting that Hopkins had it busted 7 times this year. Like that is higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because he was so good in the first half of the season.
Hopkins?
D-Hop, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the season, it's like, what happened with him?
Yeah. It was the whole offense. Kyler Murray collapsed too.
Well, he
was good, but
did he get hurt too for a week?
I have no idea.
I think he missed a week.
Yeah.
And then Cliff Kingsbury choked as well. Like,
you remember we were talking about Tyree Kill 3 years ago being one of the most inconsistent wide receivers in the NFL, and now he's one of the most consistent. Amari Cooper in the top 10 most consistent players,
all of a sudden
69% of the time. And that was he did have 5 busts, but I don't blame him.
Yeah,
when you have a garbage can quarterback.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper plus Dak Prescott next year, if that's what happens, because so many rumors. I feel like we should just do a whole show on rumors at this point. I don't like news shows, but goodness gracious. They're talking about today. I saw a tweet. They were talking about a possibility that there's just a direct swap of Dak Prescott for Deshaun Watson.
That is like another Madden trade.
It is a Madden trade, but that actually, I would say Dallas, that would be a great move for them.
Oh, why would Houston do that? I mean,
because Houston's going to have to, they would have to take on it would have to be a sign and trade.
Hold on. So it would just be straight up.
Is there NFL sign and trades? Is that a thing?
I'm not sure. So it'd be straight up Dak. I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess
he would have Dak.
Why would Dak want to do that? Now that's the question. Go to Houston.
Dak doesn't want it, but Dak doesn't have. Dak was on his rookie contract, and if they franchise tag him, he really has no say in where he goes. Like he doesn't have a trade like a no trade clause.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So
that would be interesting.
But it would be smart for Dallas because Watson has already signed a deal.
I would do that.
So
if I was Dallas.
They don't have to worry about the contract negotiation part, and they're not going to have to pay Dak Prescott,
dude, Deshaun Watson,
$150 million
with Zeke, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, a good offensive line.
Oh my goodness,
their defense would still blow.
Targets?
You know what's funny? They would do that, and then the Cowboys would still lose in the first round because they have no defense.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But hey, if everything stays the same in Dallas, I think Amari Cooper is a good honorable mention here as well.
Yeah.
I want to say he is going as the. Wow! Don't tell me he's even further down the board.
Who? Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper's 405.
That's
pick 42.
That's solid.
I'll take that all day.
Yeah, me too.
I think there's a lot of guys in this group that are going to get taken a lot lower than they should be, and I'm kind of excited about it, and I'm all about it. But there's your list: Tyree Kill, Stefan Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Devonte Adams, AJ Brown, honorable mention, Will Fuller.
I'll take them all.
I'll take them all. There's your top
especially
5 most consistent wide receivers of the 2020 fantasy football season. Don't forget to check out our website, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we will talk to you Tuesday.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.